Zona on the beat.
Be the reason that you win. Be the reason that you hit. Be the reason that you blow up. Be the reason that they show. Be the reason. 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 Promise you that I'ma be the reason. No, I'm ballin' on in and off season. On the fadeaway, I swear it never fades away. Cause you know I stack that paper for a rainy day. Be the reason. Be the reason.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Be the Reason. I'm your host, Keaton, and today I have a special one with me. I'm sitting down with somebody I've known for years, someone who really put his stamp on the game, not just as a coach, but as a trainer, a mentor, and a businessman. He's worked with athletes at every level, from young guys to coming up NFL players. He's built something real with Grind Atlanta, and his work with C1N 707. But this conversation isn't just about football. It's about the grind behind the scenes, building something from the ground up, the difference between talent and discipline, and what it really takes to last in this space. So if you're an athlete or a coach, or just somebody trying to turn your passion into something bigger, this is the one you're going to want to tap into. Let's get into welcoming Coach Kevin Pope.
Appreciate you. How you doing, man?
How you doing, Kevin?
Outstanding.
It's good to see you, my brother. Good to see you.
Always.
I got a question for you. How long have we been knowing each other?
We're going on about close to 10 years now.
That's right,
Going on
10
about
years.
10 years.
What was the first impression? I'm always ask people this. What was the first impression you had of me when you first met me?
Honestly, I remember you was at Miles, and I was trying to get you to get some players. But the one thing I liked about you was you was honest. You was honest with me about, hey, this guy does this.
That take you a long way. Honestly, take you a long way.
It does. So that's what I admire, your honesty in that regard. And then when you moved on to Allen, you gave my guys that a chance to play at college level that usually didn't get an opportunity, because of size or something like that. You saw beyond that and saw the athletic ability and the way they could impact the team with their leadership, like a Richard Hayes and those guys. So, that's the bond came there because of your genuineness.
Well, I appreciate that. What has changed the most since we met each other?
Nothing's really changed. We don't see each other as much as we used to. That's because of our busy schedules. But nothing's changed, man. We still got a great bond, and we're gonna continue that. And hey, we're gonna always help each other and help the kids as much as we can.
Now, we both have been in this game for a while, so I have to ask this question: what keeps you motivated at this stage, from early in your career to this stage now? You're a guy with a lot of energy. You come with it every day as you coach on the field. When I see you working out the players, even when I see you with C1N, it's just a lot of energy. What keeps that kind of energy? What drives that?
I love the game, and I love to develop. I love to see a kid start at a certain stage and then watch it maturate to another level. It just brings joy to me, and it's ongoing. It's like an addiction. I just love to see people do their very best, and I like to be the one that try to mentor them in that area. Yeah.
And most people don't understand that. As I alluded to earlier, we've been around the business so long that our energy has to come every day. We bring it back. That's what we do. This is what we love. So, as you transition into this and then you started Grind Atlanta, tell us how that came about. What made you get into that space, and what made you figure out you was a specialist in what you do?
I started off with another company, just working with them, and I ain't gonna speak on the name, but I did that and I learned a lot. I learned a lot about training, and I learned a lot from those guys. And honestly, I was, a lot of parents started saying little things like, hey, man, you really good at what you do, and you really detailed, because you're not just a trainer, you're a coach, so you're giving them examples on what could happen on the field. And I never really paid attention to that till I started talking to a good dear friend of mine, Coach Williams, and he said, you can do this on your own, because he's a businessman, he's an entrepreneur, and he's ran a business for a long time. So I stepped out on faith and decided I would, just try my luck at it, and talk to some kids. Hey, I'm about to train over here. You guys want to be interested, and it just grew. it grew, and I developed some good relationships, and here I am now.
Shout out to my man Stephon Williams. That's my guy. He's the reason why we all got united. He's the reason why I am in Atlanta to this day. He brought me to Atlanta to come to recruit Atlanta, and wouldn't realize that 12 years later, here I am still in Atlanta. So think about this. Who was your first client with Grind Atlanta?
My first client, Grind Atlanta. Wow. I would say Malik Fleming. He's now with playing in the Arena League, and Chris Smith that plays with the Jets. But the benefit of it was that I was already coaching them, so they kind of helped me build my clientele because they was already my players at Hateville Charter when I was coaching there as defense coordinator. So I was training those guys, and they really was a blessing because they was like, hey man, y'all need to come out here and work with my coach, and it kind of grew from there. So I really give a shout out to Chris Smith and Malik Fleming, and all the guys that Antoine Wilder, all those kids that came about from Hateville that trusted me, not just as a coach, but they did the extra stuff outside of that to get better, and it really boosted me around the city.
That's what's up, man. A lot of people don't realize in the early stages of this, it takes some people that's got to be committed to you.
Correct.
Some people that's got to believe in you and saw your skill set and say, hey, I'm going to jump off the dresser with this guy here and figure out what we're going to do and put it together. That's big time stuff. So I guess the audience, and I want to know too, what made you feel like it was going to be a real business?
When I started looking around, and it was 15, 20 each time, and I was like, hey, this is starting.
It just started showing up.
and I want to give a shout out to some people, if you don't mind.
That's fine.
Because I never really spoke this out, and I hope they definitely check this out. But I want to, Stephon from Top Shelf, Justin Miller from TW Jank trainer, Justin Miller, former NFL guy, and definitely Route King. They taught me, how to really be a businessman in this. I'm from the analog state. I'm a little older than these guys, so I didn't know about, filming and, and posting things about the different drills and giving all that kind of stuff. I thought I was exploiting the kids. You see what I'm saying? So. But then when I started doing that, that's what really started bringing the clientele. People's like, hey, I like his work. I like what he's doing, and he's giving an understanding of what he's doing. So, those guys really was inspiring to me. I could call them and say, what I need to do, as far as the business side of it, and they would give me that, hey, get your money first, go do this, what I'm saying, promote yourself, man, you good at what you do, stop sitting in the back burner, so that's how that's.
Well, in your terms, you said that you from the analog days, so this kind of transition to my next question. What was the biggest mistake you made early about building your brand? And the reason why I'm asking this, because a lot of people get caught up that saying, well, as you alluded to, we're exploiting the kids, you're doing too much, your social media, I don't do all that there, but you got to build a brand. And so what you think the biggest mistake you did when you first started building the brand?
That was the biggest mistake, not understanding what really brand meant. See, when they were like, man, you really building your brand, I was like, I ain't trying to build no name up. I'm just trying to help these kids. So I was like, I'm not a marketing guy. What I'm doing is I'm just trying to develop players. But what happens is that I had to learn, from that. Building the brand allows me to be who I really am. When I started to build that, Grind Atlanta, the logos and all these type of things, so people could really identify who I was. And being out there in the social media, being in the different camps and all the things like that, being around, like they was telling me, that built that. So it never really changed who I was. See, I was so worried about, people trying to create these brands and really not knowing what they're doing.
That's correct.
They just want to make a name for themselves.
That's right.
And but when I got with those kind of guys, like the Steps and the TJs and all them, and they was doing their thing, but they never missed the integrity of development. So that's what I'm doing. I've never changed who I was as far as my development. Everybody knows, I'm fire and brimstone.
That's right.
You know what I mean? I'm tough, but I love hard.
That's right.
So, everybody knows that and they understand that. But then they understand that, when you come to Grind Atlanta, that's the kind of work you get. We don't go through little stuff. You're going to work hard. You're going to be tired. You're going to be fatigued. You're going to be mentally challenged. So, like I said, it just didn't change my integrity never changed in who I was as a trainer and a coach.
Gotcha. So in a sense, when you're talking about training people and then when you realize that I'm developing a business, how did you balance the two between training a person and then trying to make sure your business and your brand was carrying on?
Well, my family helped me out a lot. My wife helped me out a lot. My children helped me out a lot.
Shout out to her.
Yeah.
Now, we know she the GOAT right here.
Yeah,
now.
it helped me out a lot. As far as handling, teaching me how to handle my money. And shout out to Winchell Elibert. He's a big time business guy. Him and his wife, they own Keaton's Corner,
Right.
the only first black shopping mall.
Right.
I work with their kid. He comes out and he's like, hey, they're gonna pay this up front. We ain't waiting. Before you even get the service, you're gonna pay him. This guy, he taught me a lot about how to manage that. So I had it takes a village to raise a child. Sometimes it takes a village to raise a man and teach him how to run his business. So I had all these people around to help me navigate and budget and what I need and cost effective and stuff like that. I've learned all of that based upon these guys.
So how long have you been training guys?
Well, technically, I've been training guys since, I've been training guys since I say 2004,
Ooh,
2005.
wow,
But officially, as a business, I've been doing it since 2012.
Okay, so let me ask you this. What separates you? What makes people last in this business and what you do? What separates you from the best and the people who just act like they're training? You've seen people on, we've been in this business a long time. Oh, I'm a trainer. But what makes you different? What makes Kevin Pope the man he is that he's built with Grind Atlanta?
Well, I played the game. I played the game and I played the game effectively. I played it with passion. I played it hard. I played it for a reason. I played it to change my environment in my life. Then when I went into coaching, I learned the game. I studied the game. You know that. You know how I am. I'm always studying. I watch film all the time. I'm a football junkie. So when I brought this part of the business, the development to the table, I brought all these aspects. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So everything I do it in greatness. Everything I put on my plate every single day, I want to be the very best at it. So when you get me, you get the whole totality. You get a guy that has the ability to coach, understands the game at a high level, and never afraid to keep learning. You get a guy that wants to develop you. I want better for you than I had for myself as a player, as a coach. So that's what I give you. I give you all of me. You see what I'm saying? And that's why I think I'm unique in that regard, because I do it from a place of genuineness from the heart. I love to see a kid develop, and I know if I'm doing that, he's going to not just be a great player, he's going to be a great person on and off the field, because I do all of that. So that's the difference with me. I'm not saying anybody do anything different, but I know what I do, and I know that I come from a genuine place.
I can attest to that. I've coached a lot of your kids over the years, from Miles all the way to Allen, and I've seen a lot of guys that come through the program that have a different mindset. They're going to have a lot of grit. They're going to have a lot of tenacity, as you got on that Bulldog tonight. They know how to fight. They know how to overcome adversity. Those are the qualities that a coach is looking for in a good player. He might not necessarily be the best player. He might not have the best feet. He might not even be tall enough. But when they got that dog in them, and you know if they're going to bite when they're a puppy. So if you know if they're going to bite, then you be like, I'll take that kid. I mean, we could talk about a kid that you bought to me named Short Dog. And Short Dog was the littlest guy. He was no more than 5'5", 5'6", but Short Dog played like he was 6'7".
Tough. He was tough. But that's the thing. I and no disrespect to any other trainer, but I love getting the kids that people don't want.
That's me too. Love it.
Absolutely.
That's why we fell in love with each other.
Absolutely love that. I like a kid, but and then later on when you see them, then they be like, hey man, you can come work with me for a minute, because I done put them on at a level where they dominant.
That's right.
You know what I mean?
And they believe in themselves.
And they believe in themselves. And I can go back to like Chris Smith again. And when Chris Smith came to Hateville, because I've coached at every level. People don't know that. I even went down, even from high school. I went and coached a U team before with under Deion Sanders' Truth team here in Atlanta. So I had Chris Smith, and Chris Smith was maybe 100 and when he got to high school, Chris had to be 125, 130 pounds, and I had him playing the nickel. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I told him one time, and he'll attest to this. Where I told him, hey man, either you gonna go to the SEC or you gonna die, because that's how hard we gonna work. I'm gonna bust you up. We gonna get there. Well, long story short, Chris now went over to the University of Georgia. Now he's now playing with the New York Jets. He was a 5th round draft pick. You know what I'm saying? This was a kid nobody saw. Nobody paid attention to. Nobody thought that he could do that. You know what I'm saying? But I think that, and I thank God all the time that sometimes he gives me an eye for somebody. I see beyond just the physical attributes or the physical ability. I see what they want. I see the hunger in a kid, because I was that kid.
That's
You know
right.
what I'm saying? I wasn't the best athlete, but you were not going to outwork me. And, that's what the coaches even say. Now, you don't
I felt the
outwork me.
same way.
You can't outwork
I was
me.
never tall enough. I was never big enough. I was nobody's first choice.
Correct.
But I made sure when I did get a chance to play that I was going to be on that field. I was going to get my opportunities, and I wasn't going to be denied because I was going to outwork everybody.
Absolutely.
And I was going to be smarter than everybody that was in the business. So, right now you're running a business. That's what you're running. But, you've worked with athletes on all levels, not just, high school, for NFL, youth. You get them all there. I'm curious to what is your approach to that day to day, knowing that you might have to go from a youth kid down to an NFL player at 5, and then a high school kid that's trying to get a scholarship? What's your transition and mindset when you meet each one of those kids at that level?
Meet them where they are and study them. Meet them where they are and then study them. When I deal with a young kid, of course, you're going to start with the basics, the simple back pedal, simple transition, in and out your brakes, little small things. When you get to high school, I ask questions. I want to know what your coaches, what do you run over there? What are you doing? You know what I'm saying? Because I don't want to go against what they're saying.
That's a
You
good.
see what I'm saying?
That's a good place right there. I never heard a coach, and I think this is where I fell in love with you. We was in Hateville hallway, and that was the first time I had met you. You had took me into a classroom, and you always asked the question to the coach when he come in. Well, what type of defense y'all running? What type of player you looking for? A lot of coaches be like, oh, this kid can play at this level, and this is what he is. No, I felt that you truly wanted to know what we did, how we was going to go about and do it, and you was going to try to find a kid to see if he could fit what we was doing, and I love that.
Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, I do that now. A lot of times, the kids will tell you when I train them, I be like, I watched you last night. You know what I mean? You're not coming out your break. You got bad eyes. It's not your ability. Your eyes are bad. You looking at the quarterback. You know what I'm saying? If you playing man to man, you know what I mean? If you seeing the quarterback, you know what I'm saying, the receiver catching the ball. If you can see the quarterback, receiver catching the ball. It's things like that. And then when I get to the college and the guys that are aspiring to go to that level, now we start to really like watching the tape. I'm trying to find your faults and your weaknesses. Now, a lot of the kids nowadays are somewhat entitled, and they sensitive in some ways.
Right.
And I'm a tough guy to deal with that, because once you get to that level, I'm searching for weaknesses. Because we gotta fine tune those.
Right.
A lot of times when you get to the college level and the pro level, guys just they work with them and it looks good, but why are you not on the field, or why are you not playing at this level? Why are you not playing at Pro Bowl level? Let's figure that out. Let's watch some tape. Let's see what we're doing now. Let's take this onto the field. You see what I'm saying? So you got to study. It's just not a client just bringing them in and doing some drills. You know what I'm saying? Understand who you're working with. So if you really want them to develop, you want them to keep getting better and reach their top potential, or you know what I'm saying, their top goal, then study them. Study them so you can get them better. And never be afraid. Never be afraid to tell them the truth. These are your weaknesses, and we're going to work that. And I don't care nothing about your feelings. We're going to get this together. We're going to get better at this.
That's right. I think that's so think about this. Do you think college coaches now and maybe NFL coaches, especially at the higher level, are they looking for kids that's pretty much ready-made? They don't want to have to develop, which makes your services a lot more prevalent for kids to be a part of.
Yeah, I think that's why the business is now being so prominent because and we on a lot of scrutiny as coaches at that level.
That's right.
Under a lot of scrutiny. You got to win now.
That's right.
You know what I mean? So you need.
Don't I know?
You need a guy that can come in and do the job well. So that benefits to have them top tier trainers like we have, and I think Atlanta has the best in the country. Period. You know what I mean?
Shout out to Rock King. I've heard his name. No matter where you go, you're gonna hear about Rock King.
I mean, all those guys are tremendous, man. I mean, I'm a defensive back trainer myself, but I don't feel any animosity with none of them because I study some of those guys. I think T.J. Heath and Grind. What's his name? He's out in Decatur, but he's a really good one. Clint Kent and all those guys, man, they do a tremendous job. Coach Third, because he works a lot of movement stuff. So then you have to realize that there are certain intricates of different people do different things.
They have their own cliche.
Like Coach Third, I see him do a lot of movement, quick feet, twitching, working on these type of things. That's some things that I don't do. What I do is I work those things, but I don't work it at that magnitude. I'm more about, hey, when we cover two, we getting our hands, helmet to hands.
Do you recommend guys, if you saw he had tight hips, would you recommend to your peers?
Absolutely.
To make sure that they get that work?
Absolutely. And I'm gonna tell you why. It's not about a competition thing or ego thing. Sometimes it's just about availability. I do a lot of stuff. I'm coaching football. I'm still a coach. You know what I'm saying? I'm a family man. I still have other endeavors, businesses that I do as well.
That's right.
You know what I mean? So I'm not dedicated to every day, all day. I'm still in the school system working.
That's right. Got to get it in.
Yeah. So sometimes I'm not available. I tell them, look, you need to go see this guy, and I'm okay with that. You know what I mean?
Well, let's talk about training. You train NFL guys and you train high school guys. Mm-hmm. Which guy is harder to coach? The train.
With me, I really haven't had a lot of difficulty with either one. Be honest with you. Sometimes the high school guys, they're a little tougher because, like I say, you have to gain their trust. They still have coaches that they deal with on.
Do you feel they have to drop what they don't know and admit that I don't know?
Oh yeah.
I think that's the biggest thing when a person's been doing something and he's been fixated and doing it that way. And you're right about gaining trust of people. Mm-hmm. And that's what we do on a daily basis. We're trying to gain the trust of an audience, of our kids, of our players, everybody that's there. But you have to be willing to undress yourself and know what your weaknesses are before you come to the table. Because if you come to the table and you already know what you need me for.
That's true.
I think that's the hardest thing. I think it even happened with NFL players. I think they're harder simply because they've been coached by Kirby Smart, Nick Saban, or whoever else that may have coached them that gave them a skill set that may not be fresh enough for what they're doing today that you may stay up on that, which at least to me, how do you stay so fresh? How do you stay what's up on the new techniques? I know you got your ABCs. Every coach got them in his book. They still, to this day, back when you was playing to now, those are still the skill set and drills that you will do. But you have to be changing sometimes. Mm-hmm. How do you get fresh? How do you stay fresh on what you're doing?
I study all the time. I watch film like a madman. So the people that you're talking about, the Kirby Smart, the Nick Sabans, all of them, I study.
That's right.
I study those guys. You know what I mean? I try to find out what they doing. And like I said, one thing that really transformed me was Nick Saban. You remember back in the day when Nick Saban first came to Alabama, he was a big 3-4 guy.
That's right.
You know what I mean? But then, when he started getting them quarterbacks that could scramble and move around, and he started realizing, hey, I gotta change with the time.
Went to a two-shell look.
Went to a two-shell
and rolling and everything else.
You know what I mean? Run that.
The 4-man down.
Yes, sir. Run that cover 7.
That's right.
I mean? You know what I'm saying? He had to split that field. And so I said, well, you know what? That's if a man of that type of greatness can change with the times, what makes me different?
Well, you know that we're two big guys. I have an ego. You got an ego. We care about ourselves. We have more confidence than we allude to. And sometimes we have to step back sometimes. Mm-hmm. How do you handle ego? I have to tell myself that. You don't know everything.
You know what I mean? You don't know everything. But, it's still repetition too. You know why? Because I can go out and I challenge myself when I practice or I train or whatever I'm doing, and I see maybe this kid didn't do well, then this today, this way, then I go back and I get back to the drawing board and I go and watch what can I do to make him better. So it's a humbling experience, and it keeps that ego intact because you don't know everything. Because there are some things that you're going to get beat on. They're going to get you on, and you got to figure this out. You know what I mean? So that helps me out a lot.
So what do you do when you talk about when a high school kid come to you and he wants to go pro? And then you got to make that decision between pro versus the reality of the situation. And that's a hard conversation to have with anybody, because even when you finish with a college player, he still has that aspiration to say, I want to go pro. But there's a reality to that too. So how do you handle that when a kid come to you, and I'm talking about he in high school, he trying to look, but his first thing he tells you is he want to go pro. What's your conversation before, after, or during when you working him out? With being our egos the way they are, sometimes we hurt people.
Yeah.
And we say things, but we say it from a good space. And a lot of people get offended by what we may say to them.
Right.
How do you handle that?
I'm truthful. I'm truthful.
Me too.
I'm very truthful.
Blunt.
I'm truthful.
Brash.
But you know what I realized though? When we tell our truth, it helps them, right?
That's right.
And I give them my truth. You know what I mean? And I say, like kid, like, cool, I'm gonna go pro. Okay, what kind of work ethic? I seen you working today. That's not pro level. If you're trying to get to this level, this is not it. Then I tell them, hey, these are the things that I did, right? These are the things that I did, and I only got to the camp. You see what I'm saying?
That's right.
You know what I mean? So, I only got into the NFL camp. I didn't make a team.
That's right.
You know what I mean? And I was a really good player at South Carolina State.
That's right.
You know what I mean? And I still didn't get, to the NFL. You know what I mean? I played in the Arena League and all these different leagues and stuff.
That's right.
You see what I'm saying? So it's what makes you different. You know what I mean? So I tell them now, these are the regimented things that I feel that you have to do. And if you're willing to do that, there's a possibility that you can get an opportunity. See, you have to give them that realistic.
The word is possibility.
It's a possibility.
Because people don't realize it takes a lot to make it. So, I ask the question all the time, what do pro players do consistently that maybe high school kids don't do consistently? What makes a pro player different? What does he have to do? And you've seen it when you work with them. You know what they have to do, even when you don't feel like doing it. It's a lot of things that we don't believe. It falls in your habits. You can find out where a person is head at, where they mind at, because they all over the place. I call them scatterbrain. One day you want to be a pro, but you sleeping at 6 o'clock. And knowing you got to be up at 5 because this is what time training start. They consistency late. Every time you look up, somebody's late. So what do you feel that they got to do that separates them from being a pro player versus an average player?
Well, I've known this for a while. I've seen a lot of them come and go, and the ones that has always maintained and been sustainable with that is the ones that live a regimented lifestyle. They have to have a regimented lifestyle.
Got to be controlled.
You know what I'm saying? It has to be controlled. You have to be disciplined.
That's right.
You know what I mean? And that is one of the faults of me. When I was trying to get to that level, I wasn't that disciplined. I developed discipline in my failure.
That's right.
So now I don't want anybody.
Say that again. Say that again.
I developed discipline in my failure.
It shows up in adversity
It
moments.
shows up. It does. It always shows up.
It shows up who you are.
Absolutely.
Your true character always gonna come out. I tell the players, everybody I coach, the first thing I talk about, even people I date, married to anyway. Successful people don't like average people, and average people don't like successful people.
Correct.
Anything about that's gonna challenge everything you do, and it's gonna make you feel uncomfortable. But get comfortable with being uncomfortable. It's a situation that most people don't want to do. And I think the difference is that pro players, they know that their check depends on that.
Correct.
They know that I got to do this. In order for me to get paid, in order for me to move up, I got to have a tremendous amount of self-discipline that I'm willing to work with on a day-to-day basis in order for us to be successful. And a lot of people don't have that.
Yeah, and a lot of people don't really understand that. They don't see that side. They don't understand how tough that is to know that at any time I got a wife and kids at home, and this other guy can come in and take my position, and then I got to figure something out. You know what I mean? People don't understand it. They don't understand that with coaches.
I think they don't understand because they don't want everything that we teach people. It's gonna matter when somebody else is dependent on you.
That's right.
And I tell people that all the time. The discipline that I come with, the type of time I put, my time is the best, not money. And I say this to anybody that's listening to me. That it's not about money. It's about your time, your level of consistency. What are you willing to give up to be successful? A lot of people want to still play with 1 foot here, 1 foot there, and 1 foot there. You'll never have nothing. I promise you won't. You have to have a level of consistency, and you got to grind through it. Even when it don't look like you want it to look like. And I say this all the time. A lot of the stuff that makes it don't ever look good in the beginning. I'm sure it's days when you walked out for Grind Atlanta, you had 20 kids, after you done taught school, after you done went to football practice, and you think to yourself, like, I ain't got it. I gotta find another gear. But you know what makes you successful? Because you're gonna find that gear, and somebody's gonna fail somewhere in the middle. Somebody's gonna not get the time they want. Somebody's not gonna get this, but it ain't gonna be the business because guess what? That's how you eat.
I'm gonna push through.
That's right.
I'm gonna push through. You know what I'm saying? And that's the key thing. I'm talking to my own sons about that. You push through. You know what I'm saying? No matter what. You know what I mean? You keep pushing through. You keep fighting. You keep working.
And failure is a part of this process.
Failure is a part of, and it's a great. I'm like Kobe. I don't even agree that it's really failure. It's an opportunity to grow.
That's right.
That's all it is to me. I don't even dwell in failure anymore.
You always heard me after a game. I say I don't take losses. I learn lessons.
Correct.
So everything that I do is never a loss. It's always a lesson. If you ever take that in your mind, that everything that you've been through was ordained for you to go through, and it's a lesson in that to do. But I call it the universe has a way of being perfect with it. If you don't learn from that lesson, it's gonna constantly repeat itself, and it's gonna show up in different forms. And a lot of people don't learn that until they're 49, 50 years old, and that's too long to learn.
Hey, that's true. And one thing I've learned in my life, and I'm 51 now. What I've learned is this: God, you can say, "Hey, I want patience. I want these." God don't give it to you. He give you the opportunity to get it. He gives you the opportunity. You know what I'm saying? Don't just be real. He give you the opportunity. You know what I mean? So if you want to change something for the better, you know what I'm saying? He's gonna give you the opportunity. You gotta see it and seize it. You see what I'm saying?
Regardless of what that opportunity look like, because that opportunity may not come packaged the way you planned for it to came, but it showed up. Now, how you treat that opportunity, then you're gonna be like, I hate to live with regret.
Correct.
I hate to live with regret. I hate it in coaching and anything I do in my life. I have structured my life. Everybody thought that when I got let go from coaching that I would fall apart. No, it didn't happen to me. It didn't happen to me. It happened for me. It was an opportunity for me to sit back, assess, and maybe there was a new path or a new lane that God wanted me to travel. Correct. So let me do what I need to do. Instead of wallowing in despair, I'm sitting here trying to figure out how can I make more. What can I do more of? What are you trying to teach me, God? And I think a lot of players and a lot of coaches and a lot of people nearly need to take a look at themselves and understand what happens to them. I try to teach my daughters that all the time. Like, baby, it's okay. It was a problem. It happened. Let's not cry about it. Let's not fall into this rut about it. But let's make sure that we transition the way we need to. So, you Atlanta dude. You is ATL all the way through. So
College Park.
Bubba's Park. Okay, here we go. So you close up every day. Let's talk about the culture of being in Atlanta and what makes it different.
We different. Real Atlanta, real College Park people, we different. We already got a swag. We already got confidence. You know what I'm saying? We know what we want. See, I grew up in the era of the change, and I don't think people really understand what the change was to me. And I'm just telling my life. When I was born, we had the first black mayor. You know what I mean? I saw the change. Right. I saw how us came and created wealth. I seen us create opportunities for each other. I seen all of that, and I think that's the Atlanta that I love. I love the fact that, we have developed ourselves into a mecca of greatness. That's the Atlanta.
I think Atlanta's like New York. If you can make it from here, you can make it anywhere. If you could touch stuff, you can do things. It's an opportunity in this space.
Oh, it's definitely
and it's a
opportunity.
lot of black people that can help you get where you're trying to go.
Oh, absolutely.
There's no doubt about
Absolutely.
it in my mind.
Absolutely.
So let's. You said something to me when we were working together that I always kept in mind. What makes Atlanta football different than any other city?
Tough football, tough circumstances. You know what I mean? Circumstances, and the fact that, you know, football is a culture here like no other. Is God family and football here.
That's right.
This is Atlanta. This is Georgia. This is what we do, and it's been that since I was a kid and before that. You know what I'm saying? So I mean, we take this game serious. We take the game serious. People, you know, you think about it. You've been around. People talk about, you know, the past and what we expect as a standard. And I've lived it. I've been a part of it as a player here. You know what I mean? From youth sports all the way up to high school in Atlanta, there was a standard that was put upon me that I had to play at this level. We would hear it in the parking lot at Westlake.
That's right.
After them games. You know what I'm saying? They tell us what you do.
I've seen it when we're walking away from a recruiting.
Correct.
And I'm talking about parents is upset. Everybody like,
Absolutely,
Jesus.
absolutely.
You know, but
So-
the one thing you said to me, and when I was recruiting Atlanta, I came through one day and you said there's more players, 1.4 million on the 285 corridor than any
285.
other place in the country. So is that why Atlanta is always somewhere? And I hated to see when I came to Atlanta to coach the Atlanta School in the AUC Center, the first thing I said, every time I look up, there's somebody on somebody else's roster, whether it be Power 5 somewhere that is straight dominant, going to the league, got potential to go here, but I didn't see any on those rosters. And I felt that my goal was to make sure that I found the best talent that I could find in the city of Atlanta that would give me an opportunity to be great with.
Yeah. Well, it's a fact that, man, that we this, the 285 is, you know, you can find dogs. You can find absolute dogs in the 285. But it has evolved because of the greatness of these trainers, great coaching, you know, and great programs, man. I mean, people are investing in these programs now.
Right.
You know what I mean? They're really investing in these kids at schools. You know what I mean? The commitment to building them and developing them is really grown tremendously. So, you know, that's why you can get that kind of player. And like I say, it's Atlanta. It's the opportunity. It's the opportunity because there's trainers for defensive line, offensive line, receivers, coach. I mean, for quarterbacks, running backs, you name it, they got them. So it's no excuse not to be playing at an elite level. At any elite level that you call it. You see what I'm saying?
Okay, so how has 7-on-7 changed the game?
It's exposure.
Is it a good thing or a bad thing?
It's both.
I think it's an evil, it's a good.
It's both. The good thing is that, you know, as the kids get a lot of good work. Kids learn a lot. I know being with C1N for all them years, I learned a lot. The kids learned a lot about various coverages, you know, and things like that. And then, like I say, the exposure that some of these kids did not get an opportunity to go to all these different cities, these different states. And then one thing that Cam has done a tremendous job. No matter wherever state we in, he finds a college that they need to go visit. We are always visiting colleges, and and then the things he do outside of that, when he put us in Airbnbs, man, and $1 million homes and stuff. He gives them a vision past where their circumstances. You see what I'm saying? So that's the good part. Now, nowadays you got a lot of guys that, you know, I feel that are in the 7-7 realm that's coaching shouldn't be there. You know what I mean? Because it's starting to be so brand, it's starting to be so saturated that it's not. The development is not there anymore like
right.
It should be.
So we like pure things.
We like pure things.
We just getting that way.
Maybe I'm outdated, but
We
you know,
outdated.
you know, when I see kids, you know, playing 7-on-7, they got a clown suit on, and man, come on, man.
The boot bags on the backpacks
man, all that
and
crap, man.
it's just not there for the job.
Play ball.
That's
play
right.
ball. Get better.
So what's what do you think from the outside looking in that people would misunderstand about Atlanta culture and football?
They would misunderstand. Well, I can speak it from my own point of view. You got to be mentally tough to play here. You got to be mentally tough. You go to a youth game and, the moms and the dads are going in on the kid. You know what I mean? And, sometimes people's perception is that, you know what I'm saying, you don't know what you're doing, you just hard on da-da-da. No, man, they preparing them for life.
That's right.
You know what I mean? Life is hard. You know what I'm saying? Life is tough.
Boy.
And, and
the kids, the way they grow up,
man,
some of these kids,
and that's
they
sensitivity.
already tough at 6.
Yeah, man, and that's what I do like. Now there are some people that go overboard and do dumb things. You know what I mean? There are some coaches that are immature. They go out and do dumb stuff in front of the kids. But those real disciplinary coaches, and that's the majority.
Right.
Okay, so when you see those little trinkets, that's not Atlanta. You see real development, you know what I'm saying, real culture, real tough, hard nose, run it again, do it again, you know what I'm saying, push up, sit up, you know what I'm saying, yeah, he crying, I know he upset, he doing that, but no, that man is building character.
No doubt.
You know what I'm saying? He's building character. He's sending that young man home to his mom and dad a different kind of person.
No doubt about it. So, in this segment here, you talk about how important it is to establish relationships. And my first person that I truly met is Amar Tinker. Shout out to Amar Tinker. He was having the camps. He was doing everything.
Yeah.
He was the name in Atlanta that you go. We went to his camps. We showed up. We did everything we had to do. And then I met other people because he was good at bringing everybody together in the city of Atlanta, trying to get everybody on the same page. But we got to see a lot of play. That was the first thing. So how important it is for you to develop relationships. That's how I spawned off to meet Stephon. I spawned off to meet you. I met other coaches that have poured into my recruiting when I come to Atlanta. How important that is?
That's the most important piece. That's the most important piece, is building a positive relationship with a lot of people, because you never know. I mean, just think about this, and I'm gonna be transparent about it. Every job that I've had is because I have never interviewed with a piece of paper with a resume. It was like, hey, I heard this about you. I want to bring you to me.
That's right.
This is what so-and-so told me about you. You know what I mean? So it was the relationship that I had previously, and they was like, hey, if you want a good coach or you need somebody to really train your kid, you need to take him to Pope.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? So those relationships mean a lot.
That's right.
It's important. That's the most vital part of your success, is good relationships.
Well, I got to piggyback on that a little bit. I think that every job I've ever got, I never applied for. Every job I applied for, I never got. Most of it came off of my reputation, who I am, and the proof in my work and what I do.
Right.
I tell people all the time, I think some people don't like that I'll take the kid that might not look the part, but he got everything in him. But I learned that you can't judge a book by its cover.
Correct.
You got to be able to see where he show up at and see, can he add value. I always want people to create value for themselves. Every player, every coach, everybody that's invested in what I do, you got to create value for yourself. So I think that even with the relationships, and I think some of the younger coaches nowadays don't feel the value in following from the old school coaches. As I leaned on every coach that ever coached me, whether he was good, bad, or indifferent, because you don't know who that person know or who that person may be connected to get you to know someone. So I think that a lot of coaches need to take that in mind, that when I come, it's more important, being this new wave of recruiting off the internet and the kids are getting to you first with the agents. I still find value in you building relationships with a coach, because that coach may know something about a kid that he have on his team that you don't know about, that may not have a social media, because a lot of those kids may not even have internet at the house to be able to get to that. They got to go to McDonald's or something to get on their internet, but they may not know how to market it themselves. But that coach knows about every kid in his program. He know about the up and coming people. So when you come back here in 27, 28, you already know what they got over there. So once you make that visit, I think it's important for you to exchange numbers, establish. Hell, we like to get on the board. Hey, throw that pen over there,
get on
touch
the
the
board.
ball.
Yeah.
Because I think if we can each one teach one, we develop into what we're trying to get to. I think that's very positive, man.
But you said something key about, establishing, you talking about the young coaches, and then sometimes there's a bridge between in respect, because they be like, this is what we do now, and this what y'all did back in the day. Well, one thing I can pride myself with is, like, when I just piggyback a while back, when we had Stephon Brown, that's over Top Shelf, excellent kid, right? when I brought him, brought him in to coach with us at Hateville, and he came over. The kid had a wealth of knowledge. Sometimes the older guys have to give them, they just do.
That's right.
You see what I'm saying? Sometimes we get, our older guys sometimes tend to try to, like, young boy, wait your time. That's true in some senses, but first of all, don't wait their time until you know what they know.
That's right.
Have a real conversation. So he used to come over and we sit on the board, and I was like, this guy's tremendous, right? So I knew that he was going to move faster than most, but in our time, that was our culture. You had to pay your dues in a certain sense. Well, you still pay your dues, but you just have to understand that, sometimes these kids know some things that you can really learn and just be involved with them. So we got to bridge that gap.
So, all right, before I get you out of here, let's switch things up a little.
Okay.
Let's have a quick answer, like rapid fire. Let's go through some rapid fire questions. Most overrated drill.
Back pedal.
Hardest to coach, natural talent, extremely talented player.
Extremely talented player.
Why?
Because they sometimes they can get away with things in technique that their technique ain't always be sound. They can just get away because they just
naturally talented. We didn't see it before. They don't run the route right. They just go. They step on people's toes. I can see it. One thing that DBs do that frustrate everybody, that frustrate you every time.
Oh my God, man! The man looking back at the quarterback pisses me off.
Why they always want to look back?
I always want to look back.
I use Andre 3000 sign every time spaceships don't come equipped with rearview mirrors. They dip. So social media trainers, do they help or hurt?
Wow.
Yeah, that's a difficult one.
Wow. They help. I say they help.
I think they add a little value. I've seen some quarterback drills. I've seen some things. People who know how to put their stuff out there, that goes back to the branding and marketing. I think they do a pretty good job at that. 7-on-7, is it necessary or overhyped?
I think it's still necessary.
But how far are we teetering into the overhype?
The overhype, yeah, we teetering with it because we got immature coaches and immature people running it sometimes, and then we also we gotta dial back and teach these kids professionalism when they're playing it.
All right, one trait that every elite player has. Hell, just say elite person.
Elite person, discipline, regimented lifestyle.
Say that one more time for the people.
You have to be disciplined and live a regimented lifestyle. You know what I mean? You have to pattern yourself to do the things you need to do to get better every single day.
Man, I still have the same routine every day. At 4 o'clock in the morning, I'm going to be up. My eyes are going to be up. I'm going to be reading something. I'm going to be learning something. I'm going to be disciplined. And I go to bed, try to stay in the same time frame of going to bed. Now that I have a lot of free time, I still try to stay in my region because it creates that discipline, man. It's who made me who I am. That's how I became a head coach at 26. That's how everything that happened for me because I practiced those habits. So discipline is a thing. One thing that will keep an athlete from making it.
Undisciplined. Undisciplined.
I agree with you there. And well, I think we get to a place where we can wrap this thing up, man. It's always good. It's always good to be able to sit down with you. I appreciate the effort you've given me, the things that you've done for me in my life. People affect you whether you know it or not. That's why you're here. I thought that you could be the reason. Everybody that's around me, I said, have to create value or add value. So everybody around me created value or they add value, or I hope to add and pour into them. I think we're all like a cup. We either got to pour into each other's life to help each one of us do what we got to do, and you've done that for me. So big shout out to you for coming and being a part of what we doing.
Absolutely. Appreciate you.
Okay, Coach. Last words. If anything there was that you could leave here today for any young man, whether he be a pro player, youth player, any player that's playing, what would you give them? And also tell us where they can find you at on social media, your handles, and different things of that nature there.
All right. Well, anybody that's listening, hear me good. There's nothing wrong with being great. There's nothing wrong with it. Don't be afraid of it. Work hard, push yourself. It's going to be pain. It's going to be some adversity. But on the other side of that journey is greatness. Trust the process. Trust the journey. Love it. Learn from it. And greatness will be in your life for the rest of your life. I promise you. Now, if you want to check me out, you want to come out here and get some work, I'm at Grind Atlanta on Instagram. Grind, Grind, Atlanta, ATLANTA. Grind Atlanta, all one word. On Twitter and on Instagram. Come check me out.
Well, if you like what you heard today, you know, come check us out, man. Figure out what it is. I appreciate you coming, Coach Pope. And, you know, as always, it's always good to sit down with good people.
Man, I appreciate everything you've done for me, man. Really.
Want to give a big shout out to my man Anthony Lawrence of the Anthony Lawrence Collection. As you see my swag all the time, it be on with Anthony Lawrence. You can go over to www.anthonylawrence.com and pick up you some fresh HBCU gear and represent your team. We appreciate you as always as a sponsor, and thank you for your support.
Bring our teacher to the fame. Little black boy growing to the man.
Be the reason that you win. Be the reason that you hit. Be the reason that you blow up. Be the reason that they show. Be the reason. 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 Be the reason.